Oh, hello. Just reading a comic, not just any comic. The Amazing Spider-Man number 129, The Punisher's official comic book debut. I was able to get a facsimile of this on Amazon, and fun fact, I met John Bernthal and got him to sign a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 129. Even took a selfie with him. Nice guy. Very nice guy. I'm kind of getting used to his real voice, not the gritty voice that he does on The Punisher. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about John Bernthal as The Punisher. I'm here to talk about Punisher Warzone, which is what my Commentary Companions episode will be about. Anyway, Punisher Warzone is currently available to stream on these platforms as of this publication. Of course, if you're going to listen to Commentary Companions while watching Punisher Warzone on Pluto TV, I would advise that you at least pause the commentary when the ad breaks happen. And but of course, you can also watch Punisher Warzone on DVD or Blu-ray, depending on how you like to watch your movies. But anyway, sit back, relax, and enjoy Punisher Warzone, the commentary. Welcome to Commentary Companions. I'm your host, Tony Garcia, and today we'll be looking at Punisher Warzone, released in 2008. And, before I start getting into the nitty-gritty, I guess I could talk about how this film is the first to be released by the Marvel Knights imprint. Now, what was Marvel Knights? Well, where's that fact? Marvel Knights was intended to produce darker Marvel movies, focusing on their lesser-known characters. They only made 2 films, Punisher Warzone and Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. Now, the thing about Punisher Warzone is, it was originally intended to be a sequel to The Punisher from 2004, starring Thomas Jane. It definitely would have been a follow-up, taking place 2 years after, 5 years after the 2004 film, supposedly, and would have had Frank Castle in New York, continuing his war on crime. And, Thomas Jane would have returned as Punisher, and Jonathan Hensleigh, the writer and director of the film, would have returned as the director. However, and the sequel would have also had Jigsaw as the main villain. There were a lot of creative differences between Hensleigh, Thomas Jane, and the studio Lionsgate, who at the time owned the rights to The Punisher. And it was a professional disagreement over the direction of Punisher 2 was pretty much played a big role in Punisher 2 not being made. After that, Hensleigh, spelt Hensleigh, maybe it's pronounced Hensley, maybe it's pronounced Hensley, maybe it's pronounced Hensley, I'm probably going to pronounce it Hensley, but anyway, due to the creative differences between Hensleigh and Lionsgate, he became the first to depart from Punisher 2. Soon afterwards, Thomas Jane pretty much left Punisher 2 when the studio couldn't find a director that he liked, and also due to the fact that he couldn't agree on the vision of what Lionsgate wanted, and soon Thomas Jane departed The Punisher, and this resulted in, Lionsgate officially pretty much pulling the plug on the franchise and officially turning it into a reboot. And for a director, they got German action director and former stunt woman Lexi Alexander. And Punisher Warzone has the distinct honor of being the first superhero film to ever be directed by a woman, preceding Patty Jenkins before she directed Wonder Woman. Now, what were the odds of that? Anyway, before she ventured into directing, Lexi Alexander was a martial artist and a kickboxer. Her other directorial efforts are the Green Street films, Lifted, Absolute Dominion, and a few episodes of Arrow and Supergirl. So, not only is she the first woman to direct a superhero movie, she also directed for both Marvel and DC, which is pretty awesome. Also, if you think Billy Russo is a piece of shit here, trust me, he was way crueler in the comics, back when he was Billy Russo. I mean, in the comics, he married a woman named Susan and would beat both her and their son Henry, once forcing Henry to drown his pet cat's kittens by threatening to shoot Susan. And as you can see, Billy Russo is played by Dominic West, and I did not know that Dominic was actually English. Yeah, he's an English actor, and he also played Fred Scrooge in the 1999 Christmas Carol movie starring Sir Patrick Stewart and Sir Richard E. Grant. And he also played Prince Charles III in The Crown. Of course, Charles is no longer prince. He's now the King of England, King Charles III. I actually thought that they made up the term Billy the Beaut for this movie, but he was a handsome hitman in the comics who went by Billy the Beaut, so I guess I'm not too far off. But of course, I think my favorite portrayal so far of Billy Russo would have to be Ben Barnes' portrayal of Jigsaw in the Punisher series. I promise I'm not going to constantly compare Punisher Warzone to I won't compare it to the John Bernthal show too much. It's like, what'd you just say? Now, Punisher Warzone was written by Nick Santora, Art Markham, and Matt Holloway. Santora has written for The Long Shot, 1 episode of The Sopranos, 4 episodes of Law & Order, 17 episodes of Prison Break, created Fubar for Netflix starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was the showrunner and wrote 16 episodes. And he developed Reacher for Amazon, writing and producing. And he was the showrunner, and he wrote all 24 episodes for those 3 seasons. Of course, if you're a fan of Jack Reacher, I would, just watch Reacher on Amazon. Now, Art Markham and Matt Holloway have co-written Iron Man, and they also co-wrote Transformers The Last Knight, Men in Black International, Uncharted, and Kraven the Hunter. I think it's pretty crazy knowing that Markham and Holloway pretty much co-wrote Iron Man while also co-writing Punisher Warzone. It is crazy to know that this film was made simultaneously as Marvel was kickstarting the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Iron Man and The Incredible Hulk, and also simultaneously while DC released The Dark Knight, game-changing superheroes forever. I mean, it's Punisher Warzone is easy to be overshadowed by these films. I mean, it would be unfair to compare Punisher Warzone to Iron Man and The Dark Knight, which are both superior. But, Punisher Warzone is pretty, it's violent, over the top, and it's a lot of fun. If you're willing to turn your brain off. It's no Dark Knight, but, hey, it's no Dark Knight, but it's alright, I guess. Now, to prepare for the role of Punisher, the late Ray Stevenson read every available issue of Punisher Max and underwent endurance, martial arts, and weapons training with the film's fight choreographer, Pat E. Johnson. The late Pat E. Johnson was a former Force Recon Marine who was a ninth-degree black belt in American Tang Soo Do. He was even president of the National Tang Soo Do Congress, which Chuck Norris created. Chuck Norris was something of pretty much Johnson's mentor. Now, Pat E. Johnson mentored and trained Steve McQueen and the Osmond family. He contributed to the fight choreography in Enter the Dragon, starring the late Bruce Lee, the Karate Kid films, the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie from 1990, and Mortal Kombat. He collaborated with Lexi Alexander on Green Street Hooligans, so Punisher Warzone was basically Johnson's second collaboration with Lexi Alexander. Thanks. Oh, better think of a cover-up. I mean, it'll work. They'll buy it. According to director Lexi Alexander, during a recording of How Did This Get Made, the podcast, the studio brought in Freddie Prinze Jr. to audition for the role of Jigsaw. She was surprisingly impressed by his audition, however, was denied the right of casting him by Lionsgate. Now, originally, Kurt Sutter, who is the creator of Sons of Anarchy, wrote an R-rated draft that, according to him, took the Punisher character out of the comic books and put him into a real-world drama set in the streets of New York. At the very last minute, however, the studio decided to revert to Nick Santora's comic book-style script with the intention of creating a sequel from that. Disgusted with the actions by the studio, Sutter refused a story credit and demanded that his name be omitted from the final credits. Oof, that's gotta hurt. And of course, Lexi Alexander initially passed on directing the film, but later changed her mind after reading some of the Punisher comics and getting an assurance from Lionsgate that she could make the film as brutal as she liked and that she could cast another actor as Frank Castle. Well, that's beneficial. Cowabunga! Now, the film's color palette is designed to mirror that of the comics. This is achieved by using only 3 lead colors on screen at any one time. Now, director Lexi Alexander also took part in Ray Stevenson's weapons training schedule. Alexander is a former stuntwoman and a world karate and kickboxing champion, as I mentioned. And according to Lexi Alexander, the day she was due to meet with Marvel executives to discuss the movie was the day after the Virginia Tech massacre. The news report she watched featured footage of the shooter's room in which a Punisher poster was prominently displayed. She asked to reschedule the meeting and decided to exaggerate the violence in the film so that viewers could not attempt to recreate the scenes. Now, of course, seeing as he had absolutely no involvement with the creation of the original Punisher character, this is one of the few movies based on a Marvel comic that Stan Lee does not appear in, the Blade trilogy being the others. And I guess we'll also count Ghost Rider since he had absolutely no involvement with that as well. And I'll give Alexander credit. She intentionally filmed characters to make them appear on the side of the shot instead of the center to give the movie a comic book look. And here's a crazy fact. Over 120 different guns are used into production. What's even crazier is that Dominic West originally passed on the villain role of Jigsaw. Patty Considine was in talks to play the role, but West came back and agreed to play the part. Before he was cast as Punisher, Ray Stevenson was considered to play Abomination in The Incredible Hulk, and though he lost the role to Tim Roth, Kevin Feige recommended him to director Lexi Alexander to play the Punisher. Stevenson said, Alexander wasn't a TV watcher, so Kevin told her to watch Rome. She said, I watched one episode. That's it. From then on, you were my Punisher. And of course, after Punisher, Stevenson would later play Volstagg in the first 3-4 films before Volstagg was unceremoniously killed off. Of course, I really hate that Stevenson is long gone. It's just his death is so unfair. He didn't deserve to die like that. I mean, rest in peace, Ray Stevenson. We still miss you. And of course, well, no matter what, Billy Russo is destined to become Jigsaw because of Glass yucking up his face. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Now, director Lexi Alexander said that she was against using the skull emblem on Ray Stevenson's costume. However, fans wanted it to be more prominent than it was in the 2004 film. She described its design as preschoolish in an interview and eventually compromised with a degraded and worn skull image, similar to the 2004 movie. Oops. Now, Punisher Warzone is heavily influenced by Volume 6 of the Punisher comics. Before Lexi Alexander was hired, John Dahl was in talks to direct but didn't like the script or the meager budget. And Alexander pitched for the directing gig by suggesting this scene of the neon-drenched church with the Jesus Saves sign blinking out while the Punisher stands in the foreground. And for those who might have been concerned for Dominic West's well-being, the glass in the crushing device that Jigsaw falls into was actually plastic. So he was in no danger whatsoever. Also, this is weird, Punisher Warzone is the only Marvel film that wasn't released in theaters in Spain, together with Captain America. It was released direct-to-video through Blu-ray and DVD. And of course, when I mention Captain America, I'm mentioning the 1990 movie. During pre-production, writer-director Akiva Goldsman contacted producers requesting to be involved with the project. Goldsman was under the impression that because Dominic West's villain character is named Jigsaw, Punisher Warzone was intended to be a crossover with the horror franchise Saw, with subsequent sequels involving the Punisher teaming up with Jigsaw to hunt down corrupt government officials. Goldsman is a noted superfan of the franchise and allegedly has a Saw-themed backyard attached to one of his houses. I think, yeah, Goldsman is a fan of the Saw franchise. When Goldsman arrived to set and saw West in costume, he quickly realized his mistake and subsequently left the project. Goldsman is reportedly still interested in a Punisher Saw crossover and has been lobbying for the rights to both properties. Like that's ever gonna happen. It is so weird seeing Julie Benz with darker hair because I have been so used to her blonde hair on Angel and No Ordinary Family, and coincidentally, she and the late Ray Stevenson both worked on Dexter, but they appeared on separate seasons. Like I almost didn't recognize her with her hair being different. Now, Paul Budiansky is based on a character of the same name from the Punisher comic story Widowmaker, which was written by Garth Ennis and illustrated by Lan Medina, published in 2007. So he actually was from a comic book. Now, Budiansky's actor, Colin Salmon, has played Charles Robinson in 3 James Bond films, James One Shade in Resident Evil, Mordwell Stafford in Alien vs. Predator, appeared in 2 episodes of Doctor Who as Dr. Moon. He played General Zod on The Krypton Show, and played Walter Steele in 14 episodes of Arrow. So, Colin Salmon has the honor of being in both a Marvel film and 2 separate DC projects. I feel like such an idiot because I also saw him in this. I feel like an idiot for not recognizing him from Doctor Who and Secret Diary of a Call Girl. I forgot he was British. I was like, oh yeah, he's British. Well, he does a very pretty decent American accent here. But yeah, Secret Diary of a Call Girl is pretty much a show about a prostitute played by Billie Piper, best known for playing Rose Tyler. But it's a decent show. Just don't watch Secret Diary of a Call Girl with your parents. Please don't. It's going to be uncomfortable viewing for you and for them. You might feel awkward. Actually, yeah, these flashbacks do feel sort of faithful to Frank's origins because, Frank was a former was a Vietnam veteran, and when he took his family out on a picnic, and they unintentionally witnessed a mob shooting, and the mob, seeing the witnesses, killed everyone, but Frank survived. So yeah, pretty faithful. But of course, there's a very high likelihood that Frank is not a Vietnam veteran in Punisher Warzone the movie, because if that was the case, then he'd be way older. But it would be interesting to see a Punisher period piece that actually takes place in the 80s or the 70s. Of course, they've had to modernize Frank Castle. I mean, in the Punisher series starring John Bernthal, they made him an Iraq veteran, which I think is very beneficial. 4 years, yeah. I mean, this would take place in 2008, so which means he has begun his rampage in 2004. Because, I actually like that this isn't an origin story. It's very standalone. I'm acting! Krispy Kreme motherfuckers. I wonder if the Punisher Task Force originated in the comics. Punisher Task Force. Did Punisher Task Force originate in the comics? Dagnabbit, originate. Now, Martin Soap is also a comic book character. He made his comic book debut in The Punisher #2, Volume 5, created by Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon, published in May of 2000. And I have to, I can't leave this fact out. It is too absurd not to mention this, and I swear I'm not making this shit up. In the comics, afterwards, Martin Soap retires from NYPD and leaves the NYPD. He moves to Los Angeles and becomes a male porn star. This was too absurd not to mention, but yeah, I'm not making this shit up. But yeah, the concept of the Punisher Task Force dedicated to stopping the Punisher did originate in Marvel Comics, specifically in the Marvel Knights Punisher series. Punisher series, often associated with Garth Ennis's Welcome Back Frank storyline. The task force is created after the Punisher severely disrupts the New York City crime scene by targeting the Nucci crime family, leading them to use their influence to force the NYPD to act. Martin Soap is famously assigned to head this largely ineffective task force, which often provides more lip service to the public than actual action. In the comics, the NYPD is often portrayed as inept or secretly complicit with the task force struggling to actually catch Frank Castle. There have been various iterations of anti-vigilante squads in the comics, such as the Vigil unit that emerged after the Punisher killed a corrupt officer. Yeah, so much paperwork. Oof, that's a lot of moolah. I bet he got it from a lot of drug money that he captured. Now, Microchip made his comic book debut in The Punisher #4 in 1987, created by Mike Baron and Klaus Janson. He was originally set to appear in the 2004 film, but Jonathan Hensley didn't like Microchip, didn't like the idea of Punisher going all tech, so he left him out of the film. And it's really crazy seeing Wayne Knight in this, but, he's... And man, it's so crazy seeing him so slim. I mean, coincidentally, I watched an episode of St. Denis Medical, the new episode, which had Wayne Knight as a guest star. And I did not recognize him because the dude has lost so much weight. And I am so happy that he's managed to lose so much weight and is alive and healthy. I mean, good for... I'm really happy for Wayne Knight being able to take care of himself so well. And it's like, compare Wayne Knight's appearance in Punisher Warzone to his appearance as Dennis Nedry in Jurassic Park. I mean, in Jurassic Park, he is so morbidly obese. He's unhealthy. I mean, and of course, it looked like he was starting to lose weight in Space Jam. And Punisher Warzone, damn, he's like... he's starting to look way less obese. He actually looks really healthy. And in St. Denis Medical, he's almost looking very thin. And, well, I'm very happy for Wayne Knight for managing to take care of himself. And it's really crazy seeing him in Punisher Warzone. But he's really good as Microchip. I think he and Ebon Moss-Bachrach do a great job portraying Microchip in both iterations. I like them both. Although, if you want my personal opinion, I think Ebon Moss-Bachrach is much better as the Thing than he is as Microchip. But that's just my opinion. Well, I gotta give Dominic West credit for keeping the Italian-American accent. Insurance said I missed a payment. Huh? Yikes. Whatever that was improvised, sitting forward a little bit. Polymers, that's what he's saying, word for word. I'm quoting verbatim. Strategically placed alloy plates. And just a little bit of horsehide. He put horsehide, a horse's ass on. He put horse's ass on Billy Russo. I mean, I kind of wish that I wish that Doctor Doom would look like this in Fantastic Four 2005. Yeah, it would probably give kids nightmares, but hey, Doctor Doom's supposed to be disfigured, supposedly. Well, look at that, a jigsaw of New York. Henceforth, you shall be known as Jigsaw. I do think his reaction was quite extreme. Now, Jigsaw's makeup took 2 hours to apply on Dominic West, and it took an hour to take off. And Dominic West has said on record that it's the first and only time he will ever work with prosthetics. But man, I really look. Punisher Warzone has a lot of faults, but Jigsaw's makeup for this film is definitely a highlight. Also, Looney Bin Jim is not from the comics. But anyway, Jigsaw made his comic book debut in a cameo in The Amazing Spider-Man number 161. His ugly face would make an official appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man number 162 in 1976, created by Len Wein and Ross Andru. So, yeah, Jigsaw pretty much started out as a Spider-Man villain, and in the comics, not only is he an enemy of Spider-Man and the Punisher, he's also an enemy of Daredevil. You know, for the most part, Stevenson does look like Frank Castle in the comics. It's crazy how 3 years later he would then play Volstagg in Thor. I mean, I didn't even recognize him as Volstagg. If you had told me that Volstagg and the Punisher would have been played by the same actor, I would not have believed you. I mean, now I have to see. Kentworth Asylum. And they used a generic scream sound effect. Yeah. Did Ray Stevenson... Are you kidding me? Speak type. It is anything but intelligent these days. Oh, woof. Doug Hutchinson. You know, things have... I mean, Percy Wetmore was not the same since John Coffey fucked his brain up and made him kill Wild Bill Wharton. I guess that's what happened. Ah, yes. Ray Stevenson actually did wear a specialized foam-injected fat suit to portray Volstagg in the Thor films. No wonder I didn't recognize him in Thor. Yeah, the suit was, as Volstagg, was designed to give him a round but powerful Falstaffian physique, rather than the Weeble-shaped look from the original comics. He described the suit as a comfortable, amazing piece of costuming that allowed full movement. Aw, that's nice. But also, yeah. Well, anyway. I became familiar with Doug Hutchinson not because of Punisher Warzone, but because of his performance as Percy Wetmore in The Green Mile. And yeah, you should totally watch The Green Mile. It's a great film, which also coincidentally stars Marvel actors Michael Clarke Duncan and what's his name? Sam Rockwell. Yeah, a very young Sam Rockwell. And Harry Dean Stanton, who cameoed in the Avengers. So that's 4 Marvel actors. Oh wait, no, 5, because there's what's his name? James Cromwell. Yeah, James Cromwell, because who I last mentioned in my commentary companions for Spider-Man 3 as George Stacy. And this isn't the first time Doug Hutchinson has played a fucked up cannibal obsessed with kidneys. He played a mutant cannibal in the X-Files before he was cast as Percy Wetmore. But yeah, as Percy Wetmore, he's completely unlikable in The Green Mile, but he plays him to such sadistic perfection. But yeah, I totally recommend The Green Mile. It's definitely one of my favorite performances as Percy Wetmore. But yeah, like I was saying about Ray Stevenson, he wore a fat suit to play Volstagg. The fat suit was used to achieve the larger-than-life, bulky, and jovial proportions of Volstagg, often referred to as the Lion, without requiring the actor to gain significant weight. The costume included a foam-injected undersuit that flexed with him, allowing him to perform action scenes while maintaining the character's large, jovial stature. Along with the suit, Stevenson wore a full red wig and a matching beard. Stevenson likened the role in physicality to Shakespeare's Falstaff. But yeah, it is crazy, because I did not recognize him in the Thor films. I mean, he looks so much younger in Punisher, but he looks so much older as Volstagg. Yeah, this is definitely the kind of mother who would probably go Hulk and save her daughter from a crashing car. Also, coincidentally, Julie Benz collaborated with Michael Chiklis in No Ordinary Family, which is pretty cool, I mean, she really does have great chemistry with Michael Chiklis in No Ordinary Family, and it still pisses me off that No Ordinary Family got canceled after one season. It deserved another season, but I guess it's not all bad, because the show's developer Greg Berlanti would later on develop the Arrowverse. So I guess it's not all bad, but damn, do I miss No Ordinary Family. Simple. God. Actually, I like how guilt-ridden and remorseful and resigned Frank sounds in this scene. That's pretty good acting from Ray Stevenson, which only makes me miss him even more. Next time, baby. Yeah, I guess I'll talk about the music, which I think is boring but way better than the music from the first film. At least this doesn't sound like a an Italian spaghetti western, an adventurous spaghetti western. Now, Jigsaw's makeup was done by Adrian Moreau, Remy Couture, and Christophe Girard. Remy's makeup, I'm not even familiar with any of the films he was in, but Adrian Moreau has worked on The Bone Collector for makeup. He's done makeup for The Bone Collector, Battlefield Earth, Pluto Nash, Day After Tomorrow, 300, Night at the Museum, The Spiderwick Chronicles, and he won an Oscar for Best Makeup for his work on The Whale, starring Brendan Fraser. And Christophe Girard has collaborated with Adrian Moreau on makeup for 300. Girard has done makeup for Immortals, Warm Bodies, starring Nicholas Hoult, X-Men Days of Future Past, the Death Wish remake, and X-Men Dark Phoenix. So Punisher Warzone was pretty much his first collaboration on a Marvel movie. And so, sounds like something Doctor Doom would say. Also, yeah, I just love that at this point, Dominic West and Doug Hutchinson said, fuck it, let's have a blast with this. And it really does sound like these two are having a blast. Like, Doug Hutchinson is pretty much chewing the scenery here. I think he knows he's not in a good film, and he's just gonna have fun with it. Same with Dominic West. These two are acting like, pretty much acting like cartoon characters and are having a blast with it. Even I was sort of having fun with it. But yeah, the music here was composed by Michael Wanmacher. Why did I say Michael? That's racist. Yeah, oh, I swear, it's so cliche for people to think that Russians are Transylvanian. I mean, I can tell the difference between a Transylvanian and a Russian by accent. Anyway, yeah, so Michael Wandmacher has done music for stuff like Max Keeble's Big Move, from Justin to Kelly, that's great quality. My Bloody Valentine 3D from 2009, Piranha 3D from 2010. Uh, what else? Underworld Blood Wars, and uh, also video games. He's composed music for the Madagascar video game, the Over the Hedge video game, the video game to Madagascar Escape to Africa. He also composed the music for the Goldberg sitcom. No joke. Surprise, bitch! Imagine if he had said that in front of Captain America, saying, you know this piece of shit? Oh, yep. And then Captain America says to him, language. I sometimes forget that before he did comedies like Seinfeld and Space Jam, Wayne Knight was known for being in a lot of dramatic works. I mean, when he was young, he starred in Dirty Dancing, and he also starred in Basic Instinct. It's crazy to think that. I sometimes forget he was in Dirty Dancing. But of course, I'll always know him best for voicing Al in Toy Story 2, and as the voice of Tantar the elephant in Tarzan. Famous last words. Nope. Personally, I kind of wish he'd gone by the name Russo. Yep. Also, I like this. He brings out the guns because he knows. He just knows Frank's gonna change his mind. Where that motherfucker at? He does. I mean, this guy does make for a good consultant. I like the idea of it would be kind of cool if they did comics where Frank has to decides to consult with former criminals, not unlike the way some FBI agents like Clarice Starling consult Hannibal Lecter when it comes to even worse killers. Coincidentally, the actor that plays Detective Martin Soap also played Detective Martin Flass in the Gotham series on Fox. Dun, 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 dun. Oof, actually the head, that does... or maybe that's a paper cleaver. Aren't they always armed and dangerous? Cowabunga! Booyakasha! And the dude just explodes! It's like, that kind of got a laugh out of me. Now, the costume design was done by Odette Gadauri. And Gadauri has also worked on costume designs for Bone Collector and the Spiderwick Chronicles, among other films that I'm not exactly familiar with, or that I haven't really seen. I haven't seen The Bone Collector, but I've been interested in watching Bone Collector. Yeah, that Jamaican accent sounds so fake. Apparently, Lexi Alexander cited that the scene where McGinty and the Urban Free Flow gang are blown up by the Punisher was inspired by a conversation she had with a friend who mentioned that he had become upset by the overuse of parkour routines in action films. Yep, that's pretty gruesome. I mean, if he's not dead now, he's dead. Now, Punisher Warzone was shot over a period of 40 days. Also, the character McGinty comes from the Punisher story arc Kitchen Irish, and the character Christou Ballot comes from the story arc The Slavers. It was the cinematographer Steve Gaynor's idea to turn off the lights in the Y and S of Morty's sign, so it just said Morte, which means death. It's like, I got you dead to rights. And I think he has every reason to arrest Punisher. Because the body count is 81 confirmed kills, excluding the 2 cases where he shoots someone on the same side. If you stop and think about it, Volstagg is fighting General Zod. Now, over 120 different guns are used in the production. Get up. Gotcha. And he's thinking, son of a bitch. Now, Doug Hutchinson initially passed on the project because he didn't respond to the script nor the role of Looney Bin Jim. Lexi Alexander called him to pitch the movie and her vision, and by the end of their phone conversation, Hutchinson had already changed his mind and accepted the role. Good on him. Now, after creating a soundtrack for the film with a composer, Lexi Alexander was upset by Lionsgate's decision to not only fire her composer, but to make a significantly darker orchestral soundtrack to the film. It was cited that the studio's decision for this was to make the film appear more like The Dark Knight, which, of course, was released the same year. It's a trap! I can imagine the older cop with the mustache was probably one day away from retirement. Yeah, the money's not going to be in there. Technically, she did not guarantee it. It's like, though I cannot guarantee to get it right, I'll have a go. So yeah, even she's not 100% sure if the money's there, so she didn't, at least she was honest about not guaranteeing it. And 5 seconds later, he doesn't. Wait, let me try with a Morgan Freeman impression. Budinsky says, get him to the station. Morgan Freeman says, Detective Soap did not get him to the station. Yeah, Soap is not clean. Then again, in the comics, he did become a porn actor, so it's like kind of ironic that his last name is Soap. Yeah, he knows if he starts shooting, the kid might die. Hey, she did say that the money probably wouldn't be there. Takes it out on the dolls. Ironically, in The Punisher 2004, I didn't mention this, but The Punisher 2004 actually did get an action figure, which from Toy Biz, and as part of the Marvel Legends line, and the Marvel Legends action figure had a Thomas Jane Punisher action figure, which also featured a comic book of The Amazing Spider-Man number 129, which is the Punisher's debut. Whoa! Pretty much punched a hole through his face. I can tell that they couldn't show the gory aftermath because then they'd probably get an NC-17 rating. But yeah, it's kind of cool. But Punisher Warzone, while it did get a video game tie-in, it did not get a toy line. However, over a decade later, Punisher would eventually get his own. The Punisher, John Bernthal's Punisher, would eventually get his own action figure from Hasbro. But yeah, the video game Punisher No Mercy was a first-person shooter video game that was released in 2009. But the game was pulled from the PlayStation Network store due to licensing expiring between Marvel and Zen Studios. And I'm an inept cop who is better off doing porn. Also, I think it's rather bittersweet that he keeps the possessions of his dead children. I guess it's all he can remember them by. But yeah, Jigsaw was originally meant to be the villain in the 2004 Punisher film, but those plans fell through. I'm easily impressed. Yep, Frank Jr. Well, she's dead, so no. Yeah, Ray Stevenson was actually over 2 months younger than my parents. He would have been 62. Now, also, Ray Stevenson actually had a passion for art, especially for watercolor painting, and did not start acting until he was 25. What the fuck was that? Oh, here's a nice quote from Stevenson. Humor is a very important thing. It is a natural predilection. It is an emotional release. Whoops, nope. Yes, as every American criminal. Then again, I guess, what do you call a white terrorist who's American? A patriot these days. Now, the Punisher's first solo series was a 5-issue limited series that was titled The Punisher and was published in January of 1986. So, yeah, it's the 40th anniversary of that. But anyway, this first volume of a 5-issue limited series was written by Stephen Grant and illustrated by Mike Zeck. And pretty much marked the character's transition from a supporting antagonist to a leading figure. Also, I'm really glad that they didn't force a romance on Frank and Mrs. Donatelli. I mean, a lesser action film full of cliches would have forced a romance between the badass protagonist and a widowed mother, and would have tried to be like Jerry Maguire. Thank God Punisher Warzone knows its standards. Yep, that looks serious. Surprise! You just got set up, bitch. Yeah, there's reluctance right there. That's not good. Yeah, I think MREs are eaten by the military. MREs made for the military. Yeah, ready to eat meals ready to eat are specifically designed and manufactured for the United States military to sustain service members during combat or field operations where field kitchens are not available. Developed in the 1980s, these self contained, lightweight, and durable rations are produced by contractors to meet strict Department of Defense nutritional and quality standards. They provide a whole high calorie meal designed for soldiers in high activity field environments. Each meal contains an entree, a bread cracker, spreads, dessert, candy, beverages, and an accessory pack. They utilize specialized packaging and, since 1993, a flameless ration heater to ensure they can be consumed anywhere. They are manufactured according to strict military specifications, often referred to as assembly contract requirements. While many MREs on the market are genuine military surplus, civilian MREs are also produced by contractors for emergency preparedness, often with slightly different components. Although sometimes nicknamed meals refused by the enemy, modern MREs are scientifically and developed for maximum nutrition and durability in the field. Definitely a product of the 2000s. Ugh, sounds like Microchip is not having a good day. Ooh, she's dead. But that's an impressive dummy. Yeah, well, that was rude. Ah, darn it, you stopped me. You pretty much prevented me from making an axe joke. Oh man, he was not axing for it. There, beat you to it, Percy. Honestly, that white suit is ridiculous. I much prefer his gray suit. Brad Street Motel. How did they manage to fit in there? Where there's a will, I guess. Where are they? You for your friends tomorrow eve at Bradstreet Hotel. If I recall, Bradstreet is a reference to Tim Bradstreet, who was a cover artist for The Punisher. Yeah, he doesn't look fine. Yeah, he knows he ain't walking out of this. I swear there was a trailer where Ray Stevenson's Punisher says, "I'll see you in hell." But yeah, how many times has... You know, I'm not really sure how many times Frank Castle has mercy killed people. Yep. I don't think he gives a fuck at this point. Yep, he's resigned to it. Which is definitely, I remember that from a comic book where he kills a bunch of fucked up parents who forced their kids to do porn. Not kidding. But yeah, when Frank is at the church and talking with the priest tells Frank he's a long way from the seminary. In the Punisher comics, Frank originally wanted to become a priest, but left the seminary when he discovered that he couldn't forgive people who had committed sins. 10 suggestions, but yeah, the 10 suggestions sounds like, I bet you Donald Trump sees the 10 commandments as simply 10 suggestions, just like the 27 amendments in the Constitution are simply the 27 suggestions. Fucked up system. Kind of like the government. Tick-tock, Budinsky. Or tick-tock, salmon. Here, when Jigsaw and Looney Bin Jim are recruiting the separate gangs in New York, it was inspired by a U.S. military recruitment seminar that Lexi Alexander viewed. She included it in the film as a satire of just how ridiculous these recruiters were. And yeah, it does feel weird. I'm thinking, does he give that exact same speech to all these separate gangs? There will be a substantial reward if you're able to capture the Punisher. Yeah, the recruitment scene with Billy and Jim looking for new foot soldiers was a spoof of the U.S. Army recruitment scene from Fahrenheit 9/11. Yeah, during Jigsaw's gang recruitment, he goes to a pub called Kitchen Irish. Irish is the name of Volume 2 of Garth Ennis's Punisher Max run. But yeah, what is Max, you might ask? Hold on. But yeah, Max Comics was an imprint of Marvel Comics specializing in comic book media aimed at adult-only readers. It was launched in 2001 after Marvel broke with the Comics Code Authority and established its own rating system. And the comics that they're known for have been stuff like Black Widow, Pale Little Spider, a 2002 Blade comic book that was 6 issues, several Deadpool comics, a comic series about a edgy version of Nick Fury, Howard the Duck, and many, many Punisher comics. But and several Wolverine comics as well. But yeah, it's received a lot of criticism for its obscene crassness. But it's also notable for introducing Alias, which put Jessica Jones on the map in comics. But yeah, while some works such as Alias have received acclaim, the imprint has attracted controversy, with some critics considering some of the titles to be gratuitous in its use of mature or vulgar content. Stan Lee openly criticized the Max imprint, referring to an incident of strangulation with intestines in the 2001 Fury miniseries based on Nick Fury, whom he co-created. Lee said, "I don't know why they're doing that. I don't think that I would do those kinds of stories." I swear I can do a much better Stan Lee impression, but I guess my throat's not behaving with me today. Excelsior! But yeah, Max Comics was not Marvel's first effort to feature explicit content in their titles. The company's Epic Comics imprint in the 1980s and early 90s often featured stronger content than their mainstream imprint. However, the Max Comics imprint is the first time Marvel has specifically produced comics with uncensored content. And Alias was the first to be published under the Max imprint. But yeah, since 2012, the new works under the Max imprint have been limited to the Punisher series. Marvel now portrays Max as a rating indicating mature content rather than as a separate brand. The latest Max issue, Get Fury number 6, was published in October of 2024, so they're far from dead. Who knows, maybe, Max is technically owned by Disney, but eventually, who knows, maybe Max will decide to make another comic book not related to Punisher. Who knows? But yeah, Alias was very much the basis for Jessica Jones, the TV series. That was rude. The line about Wolf fucking Blitzer had to be ADR'd, as the actual dialogue was Tim fucking Russert. The famed journalist had died while the film was in the editing stage. Jeez, it's gonna be a war zone. See what I did there? Oof. And Punisher didn't even have to lift a finger. Oh, sorry. Charlie ho! Geronimo! Hey, I'll dance with you. Fire in the hole. Oh, the guy's like, shit. Like, really? Yep, whereas Batman would at least try to let these guys walk it off. Well, this is the Punisher we're talking about. I think the guy's killed less than 50,000 people in the comics. And that's tear gas. I think. Oh, I think I've heard that stock sound effect before. Yeah, I kind of wish that, this would have been even funnier if they included the Wilhelm scream. In case you're wondering, I guess I'll play it. Yeah, the Wilhelm scream. Yeah, this Wilhelm scream. Imagine if they had used that in Punisher Warzone. That would have been funny. One more time. Okay, I swear, I'll stop. I mean, you can't go wrong with the Wilhelm scream. Surprise! Sorry, that's funny. Oof, that's gotta hurt. Oof. That's like right in the nuts. This dude's obsessed with kidneys. Then again, he's a psychopath. I mean, they don't call him Looney Bin Jim for nothing. That is not a hickey. Yeah, you like that. So, I guess his name is James Russotti. Uh-oh. Now, Lexi Alexander did uncredited writing for the film. She has stated that it was her that wrote the scene where the Punisher is forced to either kill Angela and her daughter or Micro. It's pretty much in an unwinnable situation. No way to punish the Punisher. Yeah, it's like he's resigned, but still hurts like a son of a bitch. Oof. Death by Boonga Boonga. Part of death by death. In case you're wondering, okay, oh wait, according to, well, yeah. According to Wayne Knight, when he gets shot in the head, he was asked to keep his eyes open. He agreed, but when the scene was filmed, he couldn't keep his eyes open each time he gets shot. I mean, at least he's not being eaten alive by a Dilophosaurus in a Jeep. Anyway, in case you're wondering what Death by Boonga Boonga is, it's based on a very dirty joke. If only this thing will load. Okay, yeah. 3 guys are captured by a tribe of natives in a far-off land. They are brought before the tribal leader, who gives them a choice. He says, "What will you have, death or boonga? Death or boonga boonga?" The first guy thinks, wonders what boonga boonga is. "I'll take the boonga boonga." The tribal leader says, "Good." Then a dozen tribal members line up and give it to him in the rear. The tribal leader turns to the second guy and gives him the choice, death or boonga boonga. The second guy thinks, that boonga boonga thing is pretty nasty, but death is permanent. I'll take death. The tribal leader says, "Good," and 100 tribesmen line up and give him the boonga boonga. I'll take the boonga boonga. Tribal leader says, "Good," and 100 tribesmen line up and give him the boonga boonga. The tribal leader gives the choice to the third captive. He thinks a while, first it was a dozen, then it was the 100. I don't know, man. Hell with it. I'll take death. The tribal leader says, "Good, death by boonga boonga." Either way, you're not going to win. Also, yeah, his death is way more satisfying here than in the Punisher series. I mean, Punisher Warzone has that one by a mile. But yeah, that's like, yeah, I like the way Jigsaw got killed. That kid is gonna need therapy for the rest of her life. It's like, you okay? Pretty far from okay. Yeah, let me walk it off. Well, that's nice. He lived rent-free in your head. That's an exaggeration, because Frank Castle is not a good guy. Because remember, you should not glorify a man like Frank Castle. Frank Castle is not a hero. Whoops. Yeah, have you ever considered going to Asgard? Where'd he go? Saves. How subtle. And what better way to end the film? But yeah, that was Punisher Warzone, which would be the last ever Punisher movie done by Lionsgate. After Punisher Warzone was released in 2008 and became a box office bomb. In fact, Punisher Warzone was the lowest grossing Marvel movie. It even grossed less than Howard the Duck, which I won't do a commentary companion's video on. But yeah, after that, after the financial failure of Punisher Warzone, Lionsgate was officially done with Punisher, and after that, the rights to the Punisher reverted back to Marvel Studios, and the Punisher would get a full-blown reboot with. And the Punisher would make his Marvel Cinematic Universe debut in the second season to The Punisher, starring Jon Bernthal, and the character would become popular enough to get a 2-season spin-off show from Netflix. The show got canceled, but then Jon Bernthal would make his triumphant return as The Punisher alongside Charlie Cox in Daredevil Born Again, and he's slated to appear in a television special for Disney Plus, and The Punisher will return in theaters in Spider-Man Brand New Day. It'll be the first time Punisher has made an appearance in a theatrical film since Punisher Warzone. And, well, Spider-Man Brand New Day will also be the first time the Punisher ever stars in a PG-13 Marvel movie. If you want my personal opinion regarding the Punisher Warzone, it's not perfect. Yeah, it's not great. I mean, it's nowhere near as great as Iron Man or The Dark Knight. And if you compare Punisher Warzone to Iron Man and The Dark Knight, I'm going to choose Iron Man and The Dark Knight. They're both better. I mean, yeah, the Punisher Warzone's not good, but it's better than that Melania documentary, that's for sure. But yeah, I pretty much had fun talking about this. Because, well, I do kind of like Punisher sometimes. I mean, I like watching the stuff. I mean, but he's definitely someone I would not consider a hero. But, yeah, Punisher Warzone. It's an okay film. Not great, but not terrible. I mean, I'd rather watch Punisher Warzone than Madam Web or the Melania documentary. But, anyway, Punisher Warzone was clearly a labor of love for everyone involved. But, that was my commentary on the film. Next week, I plan to do something that accommodates Valentine's Day. But until then, I'm Tony the Happy Nerd. This has been Commentary Companions. Be sure to like and subscribe. Don't have a good day. Have a great day.